Hello and welcome to the Big Bang Theory podcast. My name's John. I'm here with my friend and colleague Dan.
Hello.
Except
You're not, though, are you?
no, we're not. We're a long way apart, self-isolating from each other. Sad
Yeah,
times
and from everybody else.
from everybody else. Listeners, if you were expecting a post-apocalyptic look at what happens when society crumbles, I'm afraid to tell you the Argyle game was called off, so you won't be
Hey.
getting that. You'll be getting something different, which is me and Dan talking about some different things,
Yeah.
aren't
Well,
we?
we've had a think, haven't we? And we've come up with basically nothing. Um, but we'll, I don't know, it's better than doing, we're bored, basically, aren't we? This is just something to do.
Well, we thought we were like, oh, how do we do this? Do we do the best team ever, or do we do games that we loved the most? And to be honest, I can't remember anything.
Well,
Uh,
this is the problem. I mean, normally when we're doing this, I can't even remember who we played like 2 days before, let alone stuff from the past. And yeah, I was there in the old cowshed. Yes, just about old enough. I do remember when we were sponsored by Carling Black Label and all that. But I can't actually remember anything that actually happened from then. So it's pointless trying to talk about anything like that.
well,
So
I even looked back at some videos of just 2 seasons ago before the new stand was open. The old one was still there, and I was like, oh, it looks awful. I'd forgotten. Our memory
yeah,
is so short term.
uh, you and like it's weird, isn't it? You really kind of adjust quickly. Like suddenly you feel like you've known Lewis Ward and Johnny Maxted all your life, but actually last season I'd never heard of either of them.
I know, and soon I'll forget them, and
Yeah.
when you would say one day, remember Dino Vista, I'll say no, and I'll mean it.
The thing is, he's the sort of player that I will remember. But people like him stand out to me. The same with goes for like Bowser and people like that. Um, yeah, I just remember the weird ones.
Well, anyway, we thought today we'd talk about. Well, we've chosen a player each we wanted to talk about. I think I'm going to talk about my favourite player that's ever worn a City shirt. I think, and you're going to talk about.
Yep,
Is he yours as well?
I think this is probably pound for pound my favourite Exeter City player ever. Yes.
Okay,
So we're
and
doing a little like sort of mini sort of player profiles, aren't we? That's the idea.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, do you want to go first or shall I go first?
Maybe you go first, and then I can work out where you've gone wrong and try and hopefully
Okay,
um, you know.
excellent. I mean, this is very well prepared, listeners. In our to kind of in our favour, of course, we're in different houses. We haven't seen each other in weeks, so there we are. Um,
No.
Both players we're talking about came from, well, they played together quite a lot. I want to talk about Curitan, Jamie Curitan, who, um, just to remind you listeners, or if you weren't there, we can fill you in. He came to us. He was a kind of classic Tisdale. Tisdale picked him up at the, low point in his career.
Yeah.
He'd played in the Championship for Norwich for quite a long time and had this kind of reputation for scoring, but in truth he hadn't scored in a while. He'd done a season at Shrewsbury, and
They loved him at Norwich, though, right?
they loved him at Norwich, and he kind of dropped out. Well, if you look at his statistics, he was best. The team he was best for in the whole system was Exeter City.
Is that right?
Well, pretty much. He
Okay.
was with Norwich when they were in the Premier League, and he got 4 goals
Yeah.
for them then in the Premier, and then they got relegated, and then he did an absolute tour around. The place he was at the longest time was Bristol Rovers,
Yeah.
and he had one season at Rovers where he scored 25, and then the next season he scored 22. So that was his kind of absolute golden era. He then
Okay.
went to Reading and got 26 in a season, but then it really fell apart for him. He went to Korea. So his career took a dive in Korea. He came back to QPR, didn't work out there. Went to Swindon on loan, didn't work out there. Colchester had a good season in the Championship, but then he went back to Norwich, and it didn't really happen. So he's already stacking up the clubs. City got
Yeah.
him. So
He's a real definition of a journeyman
yeah,
football,
he
lower league
really is,
journeyman, isn't he?
and he's still going, of course, and we'll come to that in a minute. But so he came to City 2010, 2011, which was our first year in League One under Tisdale.
Yeah.
And classic, yeah, he came in the summer and just trained with us, and then we signed him up. And he got 17 goals in 41 games. Amazing. And that was our best ever season. So
That's
in
when we finished eighth,
that's when we
right?
finished 8th in League One, and that League One was
Yeah,
packed with everyone. So Norwich were there, Southampton were there, both
yeah.
Sheffield clubs were there, Leeds were there. It was
Tisdale's been talking about this recently, hasn't he? He's been in the media quite a bit, and he was talking about. I can't remember what this was on. This wasn't his podcast EFL kind of interview. It was like with some other
okay.
online thing. He was talking about how they made the decision, which we all knew, but they made the decision to go for it that year and kind of like ignored their kind of frugal approach
Yeah,
that we did that we've been kind of doing since the kind of since the supporters took over, and they sort of let's have a real go at it, and we came close, didn't we?
we really did. And when you look at that squad, you can see that we'd absolutely splashed the cash. So I just had a look back through, and that squad is unbelievable. So we had two keepers, Ben Hamer, who of course went on to Premier League,
Yep.
and Kryjak. Defence was Tully, Richard Duffy, James Dunn, Archibald Hemville, Matt Taylor himself. Um, we also had Scott Golborn, who I loved, and then
Oh yeah, he's
Scott
great.
Bennett, who then went on to Newport. Um, in midfield, we had players like, well, James Dunn maybe as well, Bertie Kozic and Rob Edwards from the old days. But Sercombe was, I think, at the height of his powers then, which was a really kind of interesting time. And then the strike force, remember, this is the year after Stansfield had died. We had
Yeah.
Nardiello and Curitan, and we had John O'Flynn, and we had James Norwood, and we had Tom Nichols.
Wow. Yeah, that's some squad, isn't it?
And it just. Um,
Yeah.
so Tisdale was still registered as well as a player, although I don't think he played that year. So if you watch back Curitan's goals, and I'd encourage you to, so he did this first season with us, and if you watch back his goals, it's loads of what we absolutely kill for now, far post knock-ins and being in the right place at the right time, edge of the penalty box and 6-yard box. And those 17 goals, there's not really any spectacular ones, but they're just all such well worked goals. Sercombe and Nichols are really involved in loads of these goals. And of course, so then we came 8th in that year, and it was glorious. And then, interestingly, you can read Curitan interviews now, and he said he made loads of mistakes in his career, as in the choices
Okay.
he made.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and going to Korea was a big one, he says. But I think he would fully acknowledge going to Leyton Orient the next year as a massive one. So he went to Orient. He played 19
Where were
games.
Orient at the time? They
They
were
were
they in League One
they were
too?
League One as well.
Okay.
So I guess it was a money thing because we'd finished
Yeah.
higher than them the year before, and he only got one goal in 19 starts, and so came back to us for the last 7 games on loan.
I don't
Um,
remember that at
Do
all.
you not? So that was then the year we went down from League One. So we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
like, oh, that's, people were talking about it for ages. Can you come back? Can you come back? It was really on topic in a way that, people now talk about Stockley, come back, please, Jaden, but it was never
Yeah,
going to
yeah, yeah.
happen. Curitan, it obviously was going to happen and did. And, but then it was too late. 7 games left. He only got 1 goal. I think by then, I can't really remember that season too well, but it was already over. But then he stayed with us for the following year, 12-13, and got another 21 goals. So him and Exeter City obviously worked out well, but
Yeah.
it was, disappointing time, really, that he went and then came back. And then I don't know, I'd be interested to know why he went. So then he went to Cheltenham the following season. So we were in League Two still. He moved to Cheltenham and got another 11 goals there. Then he went to Dagenham, kept scoring. I mean, he's never stopped scoring. So this is the year after he left us, 11 goals at Cheltenham. The year after that, Dagenham League Two, 19 goals. The year after that, another 7 goals. So he's
Yeah.
since dropped out of the league, but yeah, still playing.
Well, I mean,
Unbelievable.
pretty much up until kind of this season really, where people have always still talked about him. We could get him back. He could still do a job, And I don't know how old he is now. Pretty must be getting on,
I believe he's
and obviously still
44.
playing football. And,
Yeah.
yeah, and he's still scoring, and it's only just died down, hasn't it? The kind of calls for bring Curitan back to
Yeah.
because we basically have. Do you think have we ever replaced him with with a player of that that type.
No,
Obviously we've had successful strikers since then who've scored a lot of goals. But have you had a player like him?
absolutely not. I can't. I mean, a Jose would be the one that you'd expect might, and
Yeah, he looks like he sort of plays the same way, doesn't he?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but not happened. And the Jose's record compared, the two don't compare at all. Curitan was
No.
kind of exceptional, and he's only one of only 27 players, Dan, in the whole world who've played
Right.
over 1,000 games.
Wow.
Isn't that mad?
In the whole
In
world.
the whole world,
Yeah, I mean
which
that's great, isn't it?
that's so good and still going. So he's managed a couple of teams, as like filled in at the end of the
Yeah.
season kind of thing, and he's a coach at Arsenal as well as playing now. So
Wow. Okay.
I mean, the things he could teach you about loads of stuff, about longevity, but also about just right place. He never looks. You never look at him and think crumbs. Like you look at Stockley and you think, how did he jump like that? Or you look at, Ollie Watkins and you think, well, how did he get that ball? Curitan never looked like that. He just stood in the right place and kicked the ball in the right way, which is it's very basic football, but that's what he
Yeah.
managed to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huge. So I think partly because it was only fleeting, that we never really saw there was no downside to him. We really
No.
had him at the peak of his powers. He didn't hang around. Disappointingly, I think we could have had 2 more seasons out of him. Um,
I
and
wonder why he's considering the sort of player he is, and obviously like someone who's got goals wherever he's been. I wonder why he's moved around so much.
Interesting, isn't it?
Just an unsettled character,
The
or who
thought
knows?
the thought was that he left. He came. We got him because he's Bristol. He's Bristol based.
Yeah. Okay.
So that makes sense for us, and then I guess that makes sense why he would leave City and go to Cheltenham.
Yeah.
But then after that, Dagenham. I mean, maybe we didn't want him, but maybe it was too late by then. But yeah, you think it doesn't make much sense because yeah, goals everywhere. I mean, why? I bet Bristol Rovers were gutted. They lost him. So
Yeah.
if you add up his
Do you think
goal,
they'd be throwing the kind of checkbook at him, and like,
yeah, yeah, it makes no sense, and it makes no sense. So his 99 2000, oh sorry, his 98 99 he got 25, 99 2000 22. Then he went to Reading and got 26, but still in the second division. Then he got another 15, and then yeah, I mean Korea, who knows? He said that was a mistake. I guess you'd want to see the world, wouldn't you? And then, but
yeah, yeah, sure, and maybe it was like big money, and you kind of thinking, get fill the coffers while the going's good or whatever. But
yeah, very interesting. Interesting guy, and he you can if anyone either doesn't remember him or would like to look up. There's so many interviews with him, particularly around the 1,000 game mark.
yeah,
Obviously, all the magazines and the newspapers and the TV went to speak to him because there's loads and loads of those things, and he just seems like a guy that loves football.
yeah,
And I think about you compare him to like Clinton Morrison or Ruben Reid, who are I mean that's unfair on Ruben really, but who are
yeah,
similarly
especially if
like
he's still playing.
yeah, but they think they're kind of similar. They moved around a lot.
Yeah,
Their skills change as they got older. He's surpassed all of them. Morrison was. I loved him, but he was a shell of himself at the end, wasn't he?
oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah. It was just like it was a kind of a retirement tour or something, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was, really was. So that's Jamie Curitan, and I I think he was something special. And you're right, that year when we came eighth, and that squad, and it was a real mix, wasn't it, of players that had stayed with us and come up through the leagues. Tully, Taylor, Logan, Goulbourne, and then you've got these bright youngish players coming in. So Nardiello, and then a mix of our kind of youth lot coming through. So it was a really interesting time. I'd love to
Yeah,
go back to it. If I could see that year one more time. And there isn't that much of it because, of course, it wasn't a promotion year. We didn't get to the playoffs. We just narrowly missed them, didn't we?
yeah.
So there's not that much footage of
But
the.
it was brilliant. It was brilliant fun that season, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really
It
was.
really felt like we were going for something, and it was definitely against the odds. I mean, I think we had a few more points, we would end up in the potentially in the Championship, and we'd have been so far out of our league, like literally. And but it was so close, and that would actually genuinely nearly happen. And it is the highest position we've ever finished
Yeah.
in the history of the club.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant fun, and it was just, I mean, I'd love even a taste of anywhere near that again.
I know.
And he's such a massive part of it, and he kind of, there's a lot of players that you kind of associate with that time, and obviously you associate Paul Tisdale with all that as well, but yeah, great times.
Great times. Okay, well, we're going to have a break, and then Dan, you're going to tell us about your choice.
I am.
Welcome back to the Big Bang Theory podcast, where we're recording remotely. Me in the sunny climes of St Thomas, Dan in the northern hills of St James.
Well, Mount Pleasant. Actually, I don't know, on the border between the two.
Oh, you're in the borderlands.
And I'm also in my bedroom in the attic of my house.
Excellent. I'm also in my bedroom on the first floor, just to paint a picture for you listeners.
Yeah. Just because I haven't got a desk or anything, so I'm literally just sat on my bed with my housemate's laptop.
I'm sat on a pile of laundry. So, it's bleak times, isn't it, listeners? Bleak times.
It's just uncharted waters, isn't it? So you just got to do what you got to do.
Indeed.
And we're doing this.
We're doing what we've got to do, which is talk about our favourite players. I've talked about Jamie Cureton. Dan, who are you going for?
It's Ryan Harley.
We're not shocked by that.
No. You gave me, which I'm looking at right now, a signed photo of Ryan Harley for my birthday or something.
I did.
Christmas.
I think I missed your birthday. I think I bought it and then completely forgot I bought it and then gave it to you at a later date.
Yeah.
And I think in between the time of buying it and giving it to you, he'd moved. So
Yes.
and he'd moved to MK. So sorry about that.
No, it's all right. It didn't affect my affection for the man that much.
Okay. So what do you want to say about him?
Well, I mean, I think he's a massive part of the similar kind of modern era of Exeter City, isn't he? Let's call it the Tisdale era.
Yeah.
You could almost call it the Ryan Harley era. And what I mean by that is the kind of the rise from Conference to League One, that whole kind of period. And there's a few players that will kind of personify that kind of era. I think Harley's one. Rob Edwards is probably the other one you'd say.
Yeah.
And there's a few others, yeah, I just always liked him. Every single, from the moment he arrived until the moment he left, and then came back, and then left again, and then came back.
Indeed.
And then left. Always liked him.
Do you think he'll come back? Do you think we'll see him anymore?
No.
No, it seems...
He's I don't know if I wonder whether he'll even carry on after this. He's 34 now.
Right.
He'll be 35 probably by the time football gets going again, potentially.
He's not played any games this season, has he?
No, he did about 14 or 15 last season, I think, for MK, when they won the league, including against Exeter City. That's the last time we saw him, wasn't it? He came back and
he was rubbish.
Did a little back heel. He did do a little back heel at one point, but yeah, he was as bad as the rest of them. But I don't think he didn't get as badly booed as the rest of the City lads, did he?
No.
Wheeler got it worse. Moore Taylor got it worse. I'm not sure Simo played, did he?
I don't think so.
Anyway, so he's born in Bristol.
Yeah.
Ryan Bernard Harley.
Is he?
Yeah.
Bernard.
That's a strong middle name, isn't it?
He looks like a Bernard.
He does a bit.
Yeah.
It's probably the ginger hair.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's a little brief rundown of what he did. Started at Bristol City.
Okay.
Played a couple of games. Went to Forest Green on loan. Played a couple of games. Went to Weston-super-Mare on loan for one season. Then in 2007, he signed for City.
Okay.
That's the first time around. And we're in the Conference at that point, right?
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff, because I'm, like I said, can't remember anything. But yeah, so that was his first goal. I think was a kind of this was some away. It was like an away game. I can't remember who that was against, but the one that kind of everyone remembers. I mean, there's quite a few. He's got quite a few kind of iconic goals, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
the. I'm just trying to think of his first spell. I mean, there's a lot in that first bit, one there, when he was just sort of like a little youngster involved in all those promotions.
Yep.
The obviously coming up from the conference. He played every time we've been at Wembley. He played um the full 90 minutes
Right. Okay.
in each one of those games. So he's a big game player.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
midfielder. Everyone's going to remember this kind of stuff, really, I suppose, aren't they? But
Or what do
the
you?
main thing about him, he's a sort of classy, cultured kind of type of midfielder in it. And I think, especially judging from the kind of thing that Tisdale said in some of these interviews recently, that he's a man that Tisdale very much saw in his own image. I think he kind of saw a bit of himself in Harley. This kind
Okay.
of like, um, I mean, it's an unfair comparison, but like Messer Ozil, like kind of auteur in the kind of pulling the strings, but not necessarily pulling the cart.
I think that's absolutely true. I guess him and players like Rob Edwards or Jake Taylor later on worked really well together, didn't they? As a combination.
Yeah.
One who'd graft and one who'd he kind of wafted, didn't he? He kind of
Oh, totally. He
swayed around the
floated.
pitch. He floated, and it was
Yeah.
magnificent when it worked.
Yeah. But obviously, when we always see this in football, and the same goes for Ozil, really. But like when it doesn't work, they're the ones who get it. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean they're the ones who really get it from fans? And I'm not saying it wasn't deserved sometimes, but because kind of like you want your players to try really hard, don't you? Even if you lose, you want them to have lost having battled really really hard,
yeah,
and that's the sort of thing you're never going to get from him because he did. I think the stats sort of backed him up really that he did work, but it's just the way he played and the sort of how he looked on the ball and the way he ran, it just sort of made him look like he didn't give a shit. You know what I
yeah. He was a very kind of upright player, wasn't he? So
mean?
he'd use his feet and his legs a bit, but really he was all about.
Yeah,
He didn't stroll, but he kind of strolled.
it looked like he did. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like excuse me. A lot of you see now like a lot of players when they're asked who's the best player you ever played with. So many City players say Harley for
mm,
like the kind of technique he had and everything, and like you could see that there was a lot at the time. He played it in his first spell. Played 108 games for City and scored 22 goals.
okay.
And around that kind of time, there's quite a lot. Like I said, a lot of time people are kind of criticizing him for being that kind of player and maybe not working that hard. But there was also quite a lot about whether or not him, like the combinations in that midfield. You know what I mean? So we didn't necessarily have. You always need like a kind of real worker alongside that kind of player to balance it out, don't you? And I think sometimes when it was like kind of him and David Noble, there was a lot of kind of suggestion that those two didn't work that well together.
Yeah,
But I would sort of suggest, I'd love both those players, and it was great. I thought it was great having them there. Maybe I'm just forgetting, but I don't remember it being as bad as all that. You'd sometimes have him in there and Noble and Circum, and you maybe think, oh, maybe that might be a bit much, like not enough kind of strength in there, or not enough kind of grafting.
yeah,
But I mean, really, kind of the results of those seasons speak for themselves, really, don't they? Like he was there that whole time when we were kind of moving up the divisions at
yeah,
a real pace.
yeah.
And then there's a load of speculation in I think it's like 2010 when he kind of like everyone's saying like Harley's going to leave. He's been brilliant. Um, Lots of teams interested supposedly. You're like hearing people like Newcastle being mentioned, and there's a
Really,
lot of mention of
Newcastle was it?
yeah. I mean, who knows? It's probably just like it's like there's a lot of rumors, isn't there? Like
Yeah,
when we were going to get Aidan McGeady in the summer just gone. But and there was Brighton. We're really. It was Gus Poyet was the manager of Brighton at the time, and that was a real kind of um, a genuine kind of idea that was around. But he didn't go there. He signed for Swansea, who were in the Championship,
Yeah.
and then for free, for no money, which at the time was absolute outrage
Oh
because he was
yeah.
considered to be such a valuable player, and we've let him go for free. But you know how it is with like kind of this kind of level. Basically, they loaned him back to us for the rest of the season,
Yeah.
and I think that's pretty much it. And then, who knows? There might have been some add-ons and whatnot, but he never played for Swansea because they got promoted that season to the Premier League.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think everyone then at that point knew, okay, well, there's a chance at his peak that Ryan Harley could have been a good Championship player, but I don't think he was ever really going to be able to. I mean, who knows? You do see it happen, but was he ever really kind of good enough for the Premier League? I mean, someone definitely had their doubts because he didn't stick around and he signed. He did sign for Brighton at the end of that season.
Yeah, that's right. So who was the manager when they went up? Was it Brendan Rodgers?
I don't know. No, it wasn't. Was it?
I don't know. I'm just
Didn't they
looking,
have?
trying to look it
They
up.
had Martinez before that, didn't they?
They did. Yeah.
It might have been him.
Brendan Rodgers. No, it was. It was Rodgers. They got promoted
Oh,
under
was it?
Rodgers. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I
So
mean that's
Brendy bought him,
Brendy.
but didn't fancy him for the Premier League.
Well, no, that's right. So I mean they if I'm trying to remember my Swansea history, which is loose in my head, I think they bought in quite a lot quite quickly, didn't they?
Yeah, like a lot of teams do, don't
Like
they?
a
I
lot of teams
suppose.
do. Yeah. So that was him. So he went to Brighton, 2 years
Went
there,
to Brighton, a couple of years there. Then he went to MK on loan for the first
pre-Tisdale,
time.
of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is 2013. He had a little loan at Swindon,
Yeah.
and then in 2015 he came back to City, still in the Tisdale on loan again,
Yeah. Okay.
and then with a view to essentially, I think at the time it was like, yeah, he's on loan, but he's going to sign, and then he did, and he was kind of back for us then, and it took him a while, didn't it? I think at the time everyone was kind of like glad to see him back, but I think he was a bit injured or hadn't played very much in the. It's a shame, isn't it? Because like all of those, that was kind of he was at the peak of his powers when he moved,
Yeah.
and then it never really worked out for him at any of the places, so he kind of lost those years where he should have been at his best, and because he was moving around clubs and clubs were in these kind of different states of kind of transition at the time he would arrive at them, he never really got going and never really got a chance to kind of like show his kind of best work. But so it's kind of maybe with a bit of resignation that he kind of came back to City really, and we're just kind of thinking, well, I had a good time there. I get on well with Tisdale. He rates me. I'll go and do that again for the foreseeable future,
Yeah. And then of
And
course,
it
sorry.
no, go ahead.
Well, then of course you're absolutely right. And then he went with Tisdale to MK. And
Yeah,
if you look at his stats, they were clearly tailing off by then. So he'd stopped scoring. There was no more
he
double
had.
figures. In fact, he never got past 5 again.
No, yeah, he did. I mean, I think he was. I always thought, even when he came back, that we were better. We were a better team with him in the side.
Uh huh.
And I don't know. It was always like him. I don't know. I never looked this up, but I always had that in my head that we were better with him than because he would be out of the team quite a lot, wouldn't he, with various injuries and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did some good stuff on the way when he came back. Obviously, there's the 2 goals against Plymouth. Everyone remembers.
Yeah, of course.
And then there's the volley away at Lincoln. There's a little ball over the top from Matt Oakley, and he kind of catches it on the volley.
Beautiful.
Remember this one?
I do remember that one. Yeah, I do.
14-15 season. And then obviously there's another one against Lincoln, but at SJP, that left foot belter for
Yeah.
3-0 in the playoff semi-final
Absolute
second leg.
scenes.
And like at that point, Boateng had already scored his beauty, hadn't he?
Yep.
So that had already happened. This was like the easiest. It was like the anti-Carlisle game, wasn't it?
That's right.
Where it was just like we absolutely walked it, and that was the kind of icing on the cake. It's kind of like ball just comes to Harley, kind of chests it down, and then sort of left foot half volleys it from miles away into the top corner, and it was just like that really sealed it. And it was like I think that was pretty much his sort of goodbye, really, wasn't it?
Indeed. Well, he went.
'Cause-
I can't remember if he played at Wembley or not,
Well,
but
yeah, he did.
he
Like I
did.
said
Oh
earlier,
yeah,
he
he
played
did.
all
Yeah.
those Wembley games. But yeah,
Then of course Tisdale told someone to f off and blah blah blah, and
although
then
according to most recent Paul Tisdale interview, that it was all on Exeter City but we basically sacked him.
I heard that. Yeah, interesting. Well,
But
whether that's true or not, Harley went with him, didn't he? And that was that.
yes. So I think I mentioned this before on the podcast. I saw him on a night out. I think it was the week, might have been the weekend after the playoff final,
Oh
or the
yeah,
week. And so I think I was cycling home from work like quite late, and then him, McAlinden, and Robbie Simpson were all just sort of hanging around, quite clearly, um, after at the end of a night out outside of Sidwell Fish and Chip Shop. And I remember thinking then, oh, I wonder if this is a leavers do, because all three of them at that point, it was like, are they going to be here next season? And it
yeah.
turned out, I think it probably was, because that was the last time. Well, not the last time I saw him in Exeter, but the last time I saw him as an Exeter City player.
They were waiting for
A
the
nice
taxi
memory.
to take him away.
Guess so, yeah.
Harley, yeah, I think it really indicative of him that the what I was just looking at his statistics. The only season he's played more than 31 games was the year that we were just talking about with Curitan, when we almost got into the playoffs for League One.
Yeah.
He played 44
Is
games
that the
that
only
year.
time?
That's the only
Wow.
time.
He's
44
always
games
had
that year.
injuries, and he just nothing major, but just little
Yeah,
niggly ones, or he's left halfway through the season, or whatever.
that's
But
right. Yeah, so that was his one year of that, and of course that year was humongous. And I think you're right.
yeah,
I think lost potential was really disappointing. It was the yeah, just the kind of factor that everything we saw that was good of him was almost in glimpses, wasn't it?
yeah, it was, yeah. And everyone could see the talent that he had, I wouldn't say it's a kind of like he's a club legend for us now. Like I said, for that whole kind of the whole kind of fan owned era, he really is kind of in the kind of at least top five of the players that everyone's going to remember from that kind of era. And yeah, I just love that I love that kind of player anyway. And he was just like, yeah, definitely my favorite. And it will take some beating.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ryan Harley, there we go. Very nice.
Yeah, obviously there's a few more other things. I mean, there's the goal at the semi-final away at Torquay, the goal he scored there, the left foot,
Of course,
um, and the two against Leeds at St James Park, which was like another game which kind of sums that era up. Which everyone, that was an amazing day, wasn't it?
it
Everyone
really
remembers
was.
that,
Everyone does.
and he got both the goals. But yeah, that's it. Right, little Ryan Harley.
Fair play. So is the picture I got you? Is it framed? Has it got candles around it?
Not yet, no. But maybe at some point.
I think so. You got to preserve these family heirlooms, Dan.
It's only going to get better with age, I think, that one.
So, listeners, thanks for joining us on this nostalgia trip. I think maybe we'll do another one where we talk about players, and then we might talk about some
I reckon,
games.
yeah.
Talk about some
I mean,
games.
who knows what this is even going to sound like? It won't be our usual kind of pro quality, will it? But hopefully you can hear it, and that's all that really matters, isn't it? So.
Yeah, I think so. So we'll remember you can always get in touch with us if you've got favourite memories of Curitan or Harley, or maybe a good story. Have you ever seen Curitan down the Chinese buffet? You ever seen Ryan Harley on a pedalo up the X? I'd love to hear about that. You can get in touch with us in all the normal ways. At Big Bank Pod on Twitter. We're bigbankpod@gmail.com on email. And we're on Facebook as the Big Bank Theory Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Of course, we're all just in our houses, so what else are we doing except talking about this? We won't bother talking about this now, but of course the season is still in stasis, as it were. The FA have dropped all the bottom 8 leagues. So I think Truro City are the ones that lose out most from that. Top of the league.
All the results have been expunged, haven't they? Which is like,
brutal. Does that mean even your goals don't count?
It's an enjoyable word to say.
Yeah, it is an enjoyable word. I hope we're not.
All of it. Yeah, your goals don't count. Nothing. Yeah.
Terrible. So that's that. We'll see what happens with League 2 and all the rest. Hopefully we'll have some more info the next time we speak.
Yeah. We'll do another one, won't we? We're going to do a little special, 45-minute special, all about new Exeter City shirt sponsor, Carpet Right.
Of course.
Aren't we?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
hopefully we could roll out some sort of red floor covering for them.
Yeah, red and white carpet.
Yeah, nice. Oh, I'd love a red and white carpet in a way. Might
Why
mess with
not?
your eyes. Yeah, why not? We'll talk about carpet, right? That'll be a full. Yeah, that'll be an epic special, a two-parter probably.
Yeah, we've got to save the good stuff, for when things get really tough.
Indeed. Um, I think that's probably all we got to say for now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we'll do another one of these when we and I mean, if there's certain players you want us hear us do a little profile on, then let us know, I suppose.
Yeah, we're not that old. Thanks for the comments. We're not that old. My first season was 1991, so I'm not going to
Yeah,
remember Dermot Curtis or
no.
Tony Kello or Dick
I just
Pym.
the first year I went, Alan Ball was manager, but I was a very small kid, and I can basically just remember Danny Bailey's hair.
I mean, that's
So
all you need.
yeah,
That's kind of all you need. All right. Well, get in touch if you want us to talk about stuff that we can remember, or we'll try and do some research.
yeah. Well, I did try and do quite a lot for Harley, but it's not the easiest thing to do. It's not like researching Premier League players,
No,
but
there's a dearth of information, isn't there? So
Can I just tell you something?
my daughter's just interrupted me.
What's that name?
yeah.
What's that name called?
Lexi the lion. She just came in to ask me about it. That was on topic. Well done, Martha.
At least it's Exeter City
It's
related.
Exeter City related. Maybe we'll even keep that bit in. So yeah, we'll be in. We'll think about all those things. If you want us to talk about some stuff, shout us, and we'll see what we can do.
Yep.
Well, this has been the Big Bang Theory podcast, broadcasted to you remotely from around the four corners of Exeter, two corners. My name's John. I've been here with my friend and colleague Dan.
Cheers.
See you soon.